the chest. Chest has a few medical terms for that mean chest. One of them is thoraco or thorax. The other one is pecto, and I think I'll leave it at that. There's no need for me to do any more. Thorax and pecto. Okay, like for example, I'm going to go to the gym and work on my pecs today. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, pecs are muscles of the chest right over here. Okay, sometimes when you're young, you have those. And when you get older as a guy, you have breasts, I guess. Okay, in this particular case, pectoralis muscles are muscles of the chest. Okay, now, what do we have inside the chest? Well, we have heart, lungs, and a few big ones, ribs. Medical term for heart, we have several. It's cardio and coronal. Lungs are pulmo and pneumo. And ribs are costo. These are the main structures inside the chest. Now, heart is a major component in something that we call the cardiovascular system. Cardiovascular system. Now, what is the meaning of the word cardiovascular? Well, we have cardio, which we already know means one of the terms that means the heart. Now, then we have a term vasculo and suffix AR. And you remember suffix AR that I gave you, ik, ak, al, us, ar. These are the suffixes that mean belonging to. Now, what is vasculo? We identified that cardio means the heart. Heart doesn't look like this, but everybody knows this is a little symbol for the heart. Now, what is vasculo? I'm going to draw a very special picture for you for vasculo. And remember what I told you, please draw pictures with me. It's not a class, I'm making recordings. Pictures and maybe a letter that represents what you're talking about. What is this picture of?
A vase.
A vase. Huh. A vase. Interesting. A vase. What is a vase?
Something that holds flowers, water, stuff like that.
What do we call that sort of thing? Something that holds water. Look, I have my cup here. It's not really a vase, but I can call it something else that's kind of similar to it.
Container?
No, I'd like to call it a vessel.
Vessel.
So the word vessel comes from the word vase. Something that holds something else. So vase or a vase, same word. And look at the word vasculo. It contains the word vase or vase or a vessel. So the cardiovascular system is a system of heart, and vessels. What kind of vessels? Blood vessels. I'm going to talk a little bit about the heart in just a little bit, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the lungs or the pulmo. Okay? Now, are you guys, are you with me? So far, so good?
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Very good. Very good. Let me erase this. Please, I beg you, review this information. There is no quiz for this, but I just want you to know. And I got to tell you, a lot of the stuff, remember what I tell you, everything that makes it on the board is important. And you may see some of the stuff. There's not too much medical terminology on the exam. There may be a couple of words, and I will point them out to you. But certainly, the word cardiovascular may make an appearance into the exam. Now, lungs, lungs are a part of what they call the respiratory system. And the word respiratory means you can see a Y on the end, okay, which means it's a process. And respiro means breathing. So it is a system of breathing. Notice it's a verb. It's a process. So a respiratory system literally means a system of breathing. It's a system of lungs and air passages, which I am going to draw for you. Right? At some point in time, before our 2 hours go by, I'm going to end this because there's only so much I can teach you.
Yes, that is exactly what I mean.
Best time I can teach. Best time to stop is when I know you already stopped learning. Now, let's go over a little bit about cardiovascular system. Now, since we're preparing to enter the field of hospital central service technicians or hospital sterile processing, all right, you will deal with a branch of surgery known as cardiothoracic surgery.
The place where I need, and the person who I need to be my cheerleader happens to be my wife.
Of course, you're married.
Unfortunately, my wife is not very capable.
It's not cardiovascular surgery. It's cardiothoracic. Cardiothoracic, as you can see, you got the heart and you got the chest.
I don't know. Lisa, I don't know.
Okay,
She has too many issues and I can't figure out.
That would be like your ribs inside there, okay? So cardiothoracic surgery, it's a surgery of heart and chest. But we also have a separate branch known as the vascular surgery, or surgery that specializes in blood vessels. Folks, I gotta tell you something, just so you know. Many people don't know this, but our body is almost all of it is blood vessels. Okay, everything, every part of your body receives blood. Okay, and that blood needs to be delivered. It's not like your blood is bubbling inside of you like a fishbowl. No, it's contained within the cardiovascular system, inside the system of these pipes that permeate your entire body. We have so many blood vessels in there that if you were to stretch them out, pull them out of the human body, stretch them out, that network of blood vessels would stretch across the globe 2.5 times around the equator.
So just because we weren't married, I was fulfilling all these
I just want you to understand, it's not a mile or two. It's not a mile or two. It's over 80,000 miles of blood vessels inside of a human being. Yeah, a lot of them are on the microscopic level. But if you stretch them out all the way around the globe 2.5 times, okay,
entirely possible that you have a borderline disorder.
about 80,000 miles. It's a lot of blood vessels.
Basically, at the time,
That's why no matter where you scratch yourself, you're going to bleed.
Asperger kind of variation.
Okay? So there's a separate branch of surgery known as vascular surgery. Yeah, and they more than likely have the most number of medical instruments in a kit that you will be assembling. Some of these things go over 200 instruments. Very heavy.
Social?
Social, and totally antisocial.
Yeah, because on the spectrum.
Now, a little bit about the cardiovascular system. It begins with the heart,
But the social and the social connection.
all right,
also the social-
and blood vessels. Now, I just want you to use your imagination just a little
So
bit.
this woman diagnosed her, and I was like, what? She's an idiot. I said, you're absolutely normal, and blah, 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 blah. All you guys
That's
do
the human body. That's the heart. Now, we know that the human body, that the heart resides inside the human body, not outside. I'm giving you a diagram how
Try
it
Just try it.
works.
turned off.
Now,
So she can try. Like, for example, my wife once decided to take up knitting. She knitted socks, wool socks. How many socks do you think she knitted?
10 pairs.
No, 3.
And then what happened?
That was it.
now,
So she will do
what
stuff
is the heart?
for her to try something is like
Heart. What is it? Heart is
try, but it's not gonna last.
a
The key here
pump
is not just trying it
that
yourself. Yes, trying it
pumps
yourself is very great.
blood
try things for self, like
to
you said, like,
the
or
body
I wanted to learn paddleboarding.
and
Nobody
to
told me to learn paddleboarding, but
itself.
I'm learning.
That's what a heart is.
But speaking from a standpoint of an emotionally competent woman, my wife has those switches turned off.
Have you ever talked to her about it? Did you say, explain? It's not the food you make, it's the effort you do.
That's the heart.
It's
So much. Now it sounds like whining. I don't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore. I can't
Now,
do this
I mentioned blood.
that will happen is when the situation is so
What is
dire
blood?
that I can't with the outcome and it needs to be dealt
Well,
with.
first things first, you need to know medical terms for blood.
Then it lasts-
Blood, medical terms is
after that,
hemo,
we revert back to
hemato,
so
heme, and a suffix, emia.
Just doesn't go with migraine.
so this used to be hard.
You may have heard words like
I fought at the mouth and made my life absolutely miserable.
leukemia,
Once I realized
God forbid, and
that in order for me to be happy,
anemia.
I was a psych patient.
Who's heard of anemia? Anyone heard of anemia? I'm pretty sure somebody heard of anemia.
My brother has anemia. Anemia.
Mhm. Okay.
You have to treat her as if she.
Good.
not as if-
What exactly is anemia?
Like, hey, let's go on a
If I'm not
horseback
mistaken,
ride.
it's just basically like low iron or low blood pressure. I'm not really too familiar with it.
Acknowledging
Fair.
mental-
Very fair.
mental weakness.
Let me translate to you what anemia
That
means.
made my life easy.
You can see that the word anemia is made up of 2 word parts, prefix n
Driving teeth.
and suffix emia. Okay? Emia, as you just learned, is blood. Now, the question is, what is a prefix n? Well, it is very similar to the prefix I already gave you, which is a. A means without. So does n. It means
Better at it.
without. Now, give me the definition of anemia, please.
Like I said, it's always hard work. Be a teacher or
Without
be in a
blood?
relationship,
Thank you.
whatever.
So if you go on a date with Count Vladimir Dracula, you're going to come home without blood. That's a form of anemia.
Done has gotten
Okay?
better
Literally means without blood.
at understanding her.
It also means without certain components of the blood. I don't need to get into the details, even in an abbreviated class in medical terminology, I don't need to get in there and say that, sometimes the blood lacks certain components
Better at being unhappy
which make it kind of useless.
Really, don't be better at
All right,
that.
and that's also an anemia. Or you can have blood cells which are deformed and they're not able to function properly. That also is a form of anemia. So depending on what it is, literal translation of the word anemia means without blood or without useful blood. Does that make sense?
Water, we need
And you may have heard of something called even sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell. A sickle is a farm instrument, okay, still used in some third world countries. Okay, kind of looks like this. It has a blade, a curved blade, and a handle. You may have seen it in some horror movies. That's a sickle. Sickle. There used to be a country in this world called the Soviet Union. They used to have their logo, if you will, their emblem, national emblem was a hammer and sickle,
it's a big hole.
Yeah, it's
symbolizing the working people of this country and the heaven and earth that they wanted to provide for the worker of the world. Turned out to be, as always, hell instead of heaven. But, you know, sickle cell anemia is when a blood cell that usually looks like this, that's what a blood cell looks like all the other cells, which we'll talk about later. Instead of this, it looks like this. And so to some of these scientists, that deformed blood cell looked like a sickle, and that's why they called it a sickle cell anemia. Okay, so that's, and the word leukemia on top is the cancer of the blood. Leuko is a medical term that means white.
The closeness or whatever.
Okay, so literally leukemia means white blood. No, it's not white, but you know, it's scientists are very unique creatures. I don't want to call them people because they're kind of different than all of us normal people. They live in a different universe, and to them, things look different than to you and me. They find nature within nature, and that's what they call it. Okay, so we just have to live with it. So blood in reality is a vehicle. It's like a bus. Blood is a vehicle, like a bus. And this bus transports things like oxygen, nutrients, waste, disease-fighting soldiers throughout your entire body. That's what blood is. It does many different things. They call it a tissue. But, you know, if you remember that I called it a vehicle, blood is a vehicle which transports all sorts, like a bus. It carries all sorts of people. There are people who are police officers that get on the bus. Where do they go? They go to fight crime, like fighting disease. You have people who work on, you know, making food, like nutrients inside the body. So whatever you eat, whatever you inhale, okay, ends up in your bloodstream and it gets delivered to your entire body. You are what you eat. All the building blocks and everything else is supplied to the body through blood and blood only. It is the ultimate delivery vehicles. If you're sick or if you have an infection somewhere, blood will deliver disease-fighting soldiers, known as the white blood cells, okay, to that area, and they will fight disease for you. Cool? Very cool. So the heart will pump blood via the cardiovascular system to the entire body and to itself. Okay? So
but yet you're not getting the like rewards and all and the love and also so the like in the mutual thing you want to
now we have blood going to the body.
that can look many different ways. But
So
then,
this is blood
the
to
for,
the
and
body,
then
and this would be
also do the things that you need. So if she needs
blood
to be protected, you need to be
from
fed and loved
the
and cherished and all
body.
of those other things.
What is the
And
difference?
that balance, you know?
Let me explain to you in a kind of a story.
kind of right.
I get up in the morning,
I'm not saying I always say for me,
I put on
it's about me.
a clean pair
It's always about
clothes.
wanting
Well,
why you want
clean
it,
socks,
because I
clean
don't
underwear, clean shirt,
I don't need a man, I
and
don't need
hopefully
a
some clean
money, I don't
pants.
need that.
Okay?
What do I really
I took a shower, I'm refreshed, okay, and I'm ready to go. I go out and I spend a work day someplace else.
want to do all these
All right?
things, but
On my way home, I get a text message from my wife says, honey, before you come home, would you please stop by the store and pick up this, and that. Get some food, get some, I don't know, paper towels, some seltzer, whatever.
Is that too much information?
And I come home, tired, sweaty, smelling bad,
I understand me.
and I bring in the shopping and says, oh, honey, please, I beg you, before you change,
I mean, I'm not trying to analyze
would you please take out the garbage?
what I see.
Fine. I pick up the garbage, and I take it to the garbage can, and then I come home, and then I change into different attire. I put this stuff into the laundry basket, and I change into my home garments, and maybe take a shower, maybe do this and eat something, and then go to sleep and wake up the next day to do the same thing again and again and again.
Demands from your children. So
How do you like that story? Does that sound reasonable?
grow and blossom. Women actually
Can you relate to this story?
more confident in their body. There's a lot of great things.
Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
Does that story strike a favorable chord with you?
comfortable with.
Yes,
Maybe this is something that you do.
confident and more comfortable.
Now, by the way, when you go to work, when you leave your house, let's say you live in a house, right? It has a driveway, or you live in an apartment building. It has parking lot. All right. Then you get out of your parking lot or your driveway, which is a small road. Your driveway is a tiny little roadway. You drive onto a small street where you live. Then you get on a bigger street, then maybe on the large highway to get to where you're going. Then you get off an exit, take a smaller and smaller and smaller street until you get to your place of work, which is also another small driveway where you get in and you park and you go to your place of business. Does that make sense? So the roadways get from big to small and from small to big. Am I making sense? Which is exactly what happens with the cardiovascular system. It's exactly the same thing. And you can take your car, which is a vehicle, or a bus to get to where you're going. But a vehicle is a vehicle. And what do? You go out clean, you come back dirty. You can bring home groceries and you can take out the garbage. And that is exactly what blood is doing. Are you catching my story? That's exactly how it works. You see, the blood vessels are the roadways, and blood is you inside that vehicle. Okay? That's how we work. So, blood goes to the body. What do you think body is going to do with that blood? It's going to use it. And once you use something, it becomes dirty. So we have quote unquote clean blood going to the body and then dirty blood returning back to the heart. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
Now we also have two different types of blood vessels. One blood vessel that goes away from the heart, and the other one, the other set of blood vessels that go back to the heart. Do you see the arrows? These are blood vessels. These pipes are going to the body. They're going away from the heart and to the body. And this one is going back, returning to the heart. Do you see that there's a difference? Come on. Somebody say yes or somebody say no. Somebody say something. I need a little feedback. Remember, feedback, step in communication process where
Yeah.
you solicit, information from the listener. Excellent. It's important for me to know. Now, why is this important to what we're studying right now? For the following reasons. There are different blood vessels. There are different blood vessels. One type of blood vessels is called arteries, and the other one is called veins. I bet you know these words. You just don't know what's the difference. Right? Am I correct?
Yeah. Isn't the arteries closer to the heart or something like that?
Well,
Now go to college.
you'll see in a second. Arteries
Supplement the salary of over $100,000
take
after 2 years of study.
blood
Hopefully by the time she
away
graduates, we're gonna have a hygiene program here too.
from the heart.
I mean, maybe
And
one
veins,
One day.
why? Veins
later.
return blood
So
to
that's why I want to interview
the heart.
them. Because
And why am I telling you this? Well, because, my friends, there are medical terms for arteries and medical terms for veins. Arteries, medical term for arteries would be angio and arterio.
find other people to supplement that.
And veins would be
Because even though
phlebo and veno.
privilege, I mean, I had the electricity shut off in my house. My kids think that I'm the greatest thing since sliced cheese because when the electric company shut off the electricity, I turned it back on myself. Because I know how.
People.
Now, I'm going to put a few words on here, on the board.
Superhero is here.
Angioplasty and phlebotomy. Angioplasty and phlebotomy. Angioplasty and phlebotomy. Now, both are procedures. There's a Y in the end. Are you with me? Now, the question is angio. I just told you it's an artery. And plasty or plast. Interesting word. Interesting word. Have you ever heard of plastic surgeons? Don't be afraid to speak up. Have you heard of
Yes.
plastic surgeon? Have you ever heard of plastic surgery? What does that mean?
Whatever it is that I am.
What do you feel like? What kind of feelings come up when you hear about plastic surgery?
Changing your looks.
Changing your looks.
Cosmetic.
Cosmetic. Very nice. Why the heck do they call it plastic? There's no plastic in that surgery. All right. So medical term plasty, suffix plasty, means repair. Plasty means repair. Would you say that this is an important suffix for you to know?
Or, you know,
Yeah.
that's why you tend to-
Yeah, because you'll be doing a lot of repair. Now, phlebotomy, I am certain that you have heard of phlebotomy, and I'm certain that you actually had it done to yourselves. What is phlebotomy? Can anyone tell me what phlebotomy is? Well,
Someone that takes your blood.
what was it?
All kinds
Well, phlebotomist, someone who takes your blood.
Oh, phlebotomist is somebody who takes your blood, but there is no blood in this word here. Phlebo, as you can see over there, is vein. Now look at the word Tommy or otomy. Ah, you recognize the word Tom as cut, but this suffix is otomy. Yesterday or last time, sorry, we had ectomy. Remember? Right? Ectomy. We broke down ectomy into ec, tom, and y. Ec, tom, e. Remember that suffix?
Yeah.
And was out
million-dollar
cut
meetings, you know, like,
procedure.
and you would say, I'll be back.
Right? That's how we identify this very important suffix ectomy as procedure to cut out. Now, look at this suffix. It's another important suffix, except this one is a, tom, e. Procedure to cut an o. Otomy literally means to make an O. O is for opening.
Like puncture?
Exactly. Like a puncture. So otomy is making an opening. Phlebotomy in other places sometimes is called venipuncture. Okay? Venipuncture. Vein puncture. Phlebotomy. a procedure that punctures a vein. So please, my dear friends, suffix plasty, suffix otomy, please make sure you write them down.
I know. He has all sorts of unappealing character traits.
I know. I don't want to use him as an example.
No, I'm just saying,
I don't
but
care
this-
about him.
I understand.
It's not that I don't care about him. I don't respect him.
So in our conversation, and I promise I'm not going to torture you too much longer,
As far as
all right? Because I'm going to go over, what do you call it, respiratory system, and I'm going to stop with the respiratory system today, and we're going to pick up with the digestive system next class. Okay, because at this point in time, it'll be too much information. I can feel through the internet that you're getting kind of tired of all this information. There's a lot of information here, a lot of information. And mind you, it's a lot of good information. Now, I'm going to show you something very interesting. This diagram over here, look, go back to my story that I told you. I told you a story about me going to work, wearing clean clothes most of the time, right? Feeling refreshed, having had my breakfast, my shower, and going to work, facing the world, clean and not tired, and properly nutritioned. I don't know. I just made this word up. Properly something. Fed. Okay? So here I am. I am here, and I'm going to the body. I just ate, I'm clean, and I'm fed. I'm going to work. I'm going to see people. They're going to cough and sneeze on me. I'm going to spill my coffee during lunchtime. I'm going to spill my food on me. My clothes are going to get dirty. I'm going to sweat and I'm going to stink because my wife is experimenting with natural deodorants. And I'm here to tell you, I've tried about 20 and they don't work. Okay? So I'm not going to be a very pretty sight or smelling as well as I did in the morning, right? That happened over here. That's my work. I went from the heart, from my home, to the body. I got dirty, and now I'm returning to the heart dirty. Are you feeling what I'm saying? Going out clean? I'm just going to write it here. Going to the body clean on this side. That's what's happening.
Okay. They're captive
I'm going to get
This thing is recording. I'll be back.
dirty
Do you want
here, and now I am returning
sure you don't want something?
dirty to the heart. Now, what's wrong with this picture?
I think Jen is here today. We'll order lunch.
What's wrong with this picture?
Thank you for asking me.
Anything wrong with this picture?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone?
Is it because you're going out clean and then you're coming back dirty?
Yes. So what's wrong with this picture?
How is the question? Or why?
No, well, how what?
I don't know. Never mind.
Well, so what's missing here is there seems to be, if I go back to the heart, I told you that the heart, all that heart is a pump that pumps blood. So in this particular picture, all I would have to work with is dirty blood. Because I put out going to the body clean and I'm going back to the heart dirty. So the question is, if all I have is dirty blood, where do I make it clean?
The arteries.
No, arteries are just blood vessels, right? See, wouldn't it be nice? No. See, no, they just carry. They're roadways. Remember, I told you about the roadways. Wouldn't it be nice if while you were driving, you would get cleaned up, refreshed, and fed? But it doesn't happen that way. The roadways and the vehicles that you take to travel only make you dirty. They don't make you clean. So there seems to be a step missing over here where the body cleans up the blood because the heart is only a pump. So there must be a way for us to clean the blood here somewhere. Are you with me? Did you catch what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here
No.
is where the no. So
Say that part again.
check this out. Blood and the heart, they service the body. The body uses the blood and makes it dirty. Where in this process? Because I said I'm going to the body clean, but how do I get clean? I know that inside the body I'm going to get dirty because my body is like the job for blood. The blood goes to the body and gets dirty. And it's going back to the heart dirty. Where does the heart get clean blood from? That's my
Would it
question.
be from the body?
From the
Doesn't
body?
depend on.
Well, the body makes it dirty. See? So check this out. This is the brilliance of our cardiovascular system. The heart sends the blood out to the cleaners. So this dirty blood comes into the heart, comes in, and it comes out and goes to the cleaners. And I'm going to draw an interesting picture of these cleaners. Okay? And what is this the cleaners for? It's the respiratory system. And, you know, this is just one set of cleaners that we have in a body, but that's how it works. So the respiratory system, or the lungs, or let's call it the cleaners. So the heart is going to send out this dirty blood to the lungs, to the respiratory system. It's going to get cleaned up, return back to the heart over here. And now this clean blood is going to go that way to the body.
It's like
It's like the what?
Is it like recycling?
Like recycling. Yeah, I suppose in some remote way you could call it recycling. That's when you think you're sending out your recyclable goods like plastics and cardboard and stuff like that, and they quote unquote cleanly convert it into other reusable things. There's not enough time in the day for me to discuss the bogus baloney of all this, but it is what it is. This is where we live. But I suppose so. It's like, you know what happens? It's when I come home from work and my wife asked me to pick up the shopping. And then as soon as I came back, she says, honey, please take out these garbage bags. So it's an exchange. It's an exchange. I give her the shopping. She gives me the garbage. Okay? And this is a constant exchange. Food, trash. Food, trash. Make sense? And this is what's happening here. When we go to the body, we go clean. Body uses the stuff and gets dirty, comes back to the heart. The heart says, hey, I don't want that dirty blood. Let me send it out to the cleaners. The cleaners are your lungs and the air pipes. We clean up the blood over here, kind of, and go back to the heart. And the heart says, ooh, great, clean blood. Back to the body you go. How's that? That is the brief explanation of the cardiovascular system. Clean blood out to the body, dirty blood back to the heart from the body, dirty blood from the heart to the lungs, clean blood from the lungs coming back to the heart and back to the body again. Okay? So there's two pumping cycles that we have that kind of work like this. One goes to the body and from the body, and the other one goes from the lungs to the lungs and from the lungs. And that's how they exchange. Okay? All right? Now, we have a dual cleaning system inside there. By dirty, I mean without oxygen. By clean, I mean with oxygen. But there's other types of dirt, and we're going to talk about that later. Now, let me address the respiratory system a little bit, about the lungs and some of the names which are important to you as future sterile processing technicians. So now on to respiratory system, and that's when and where we're going to stop today. Okay? Now, let's talk about the respiratory system, or the system for breathing. The respiratory system is made up of air pipes and the lungs. And I'm going to draw you another picture in just a moment. What's this? Does it look like a tree?
Yes.
Does it? It does. Does it look like this thing right over here?
Yes.
Upside down? Yes, yes, it does. Yes.
Your house something, oh, that,
I left Friday and I spent most of my time submerged.
So, this is your respiratory system.
you sent that picture, I don't remember, was that Father's Day or whatever
Yeah,
that
yeah.
day? I just kept thinking, like, wow, that is so gorgeous view.
Which includes
Me,
part that goes in your throat, okay?
Waterboard.
And the other stuff is inside. So this is in the
weekend in the morning.
throat. As a matter of fact, we call this part a larynx. Remember I told you about the larynx, right? It's inside the throat. And larynx really is the person's voice box. So you know where it's at? It's right here. That's the larynx. You can feel it. See, the beautiful part about anatomy is you own it. You can touch it, feel it, and experience it in many different ways. Okay? So this is something that you can always touch and feel. Now, this voice box continues going down into the chest area, and this is what we call an air pipe or windpipe. Windpipe, but it has a name in medicine called the trachea. Trachea. Now, trachea splits inside the chest, inside these two pipes, and these pipes, you know this, are called bronchi. Why? Because you have heard of bronchitis. Bronchi are just two branches of the same tree. They're big branches of the same tree. They're going inside the lungs. These guys right over here are the lungs, okay? Lungs. We have one lung on the left side and one lung on the right side. And just so you know what kind of neighborhood this is, in this area right over here, this circle that I drew right over here is the heart. This circle is the heart. That's how they are in relationship to one another. Okay? So this is the respiratory system. Now, inside the lungs, bronchi become smaller, smaller, and smaller, and into units called bronchioles. Literally small branches. And in the end, they are connecting to things called alveoli. Alveoli. And what are alveoli? They kind of look like broccoli a little bit. You know what broccoli looks like? Kind of like this. Well, alveoli are tiny air bags. And you know what they're compared to? They're compared to leaves. Leaves on a tree.
Like if you're walking, she's walking behind, she's on the
Are
mopping the floor behind.
like
It gets kind of uncomfortable.
alveoli in the lungs. Now, what do the leaves do on the tree? what do the leaves do on the tree?
It's a mugwort.
In very simple language. Can anyone tell me what happens inside the leaves?
That's too bad. But does she enjoy?
Oh yeah, no, she does enjoy it. She's into gardening.
I can only think about chlorophyll providing oxygen.
That's too much information, right? So don't worry about chlorophyll or everything else,
Fall?
but we exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide.
This is home for her.
Right? So during the day, trees, leaves produce oxygen and infuse oxygen into the atmosphere, and at night they produce carbon dioxide, meaning they take in oxygen from the outside and make carbon dioxide, which is exactly what happens inside the lungs. We inhale clean air and we exhale dirty air. Oxygen in, carbon dioxide out.
But you know what? Place like that, you can really
Right.
enjoy.
Have you ever heard of greenhouse gases?
She's like that. Her
Yes.
backyard's like a botanical.
It's a bad word, greenhouse gases. Oh, fossil fuels produce greenhouse gases.
Oh my
That's what she
Yeah,
does. That's her
But
passion.
Bad for you. Well, why are they called greenhouse gases? Because plants produce greenhouse gases. All the green things that people are so, enamored with. Oh, everything must be green. Well, guess what?
It's all good.
Trees are the number one producer of carbon dioxide on this planet. Everything green produces carbon dioxide. Oh, but that's bad. No, it's not bad. It's good. It's important for the atmosphere. All right. So if you look on the tree, this is a reverse picture of the lungs, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli, and they do the same thing. Trees breathe. The good thing for us is that they breathe and they give us oxygen. That's why, have you ever heard of not having plants or flowers in your bedroom? Did you ever hear that? They call it an old wives' tale. Don't put plants in your bedroom. Anyone ever heard this?
No.
Oh, come on. No. Well, no. Huh? Yes. Did I hear a yes somewhere?
Yes.
Well, okay. So the reason for that, it's not an old wives' tale. What do you do in the bedroom? You sleep. What do plants do at night? They put out carbon dioxide. You don't want carbon dioxide in your bedroom when you're sleeping. You want oxygen. Okay? So usually people who have plants, oh, plants are good for you. They're cleaning the air in my bedroom. It's so refreshing and smells so nice. No, it doesn't. Okay? You will always have a headache. A lot of people suffer from migraines because they foolishly keep plants in their bedrooms and they don't understand that. But now, like I told you before, these classes are an eye-opening experience, okay, to some extent. Do not keep plants in your bedroom. There's only one plant that you're allowed to have in your bedroom, and that would be an aloe plant because it works a little bit differently than other plants. Other than that, keep all that green stuff in other parts of your house if you want to, or better yet, outside. This, my dear friends, is the respiratory system, okay? One other thing that I'm going to quickly mention about the respiratory system is the muscle that controls the breathing. And that muscle is in your belly, which is what we're going to talk about beginning next class. We're going to talk about your belly. So a muscle in the belly that controls breathing is called the diaphragm. That is this muscle in the belly. It goes up, it goes down. I mean, it goes out, it goes in, like an accordion. Okay? And it pushes on the lungs or pulls on the lungs. When it pulls on the lungs, you inhale. When it pushes on the lungs, you exhale. Okay? Now, one last medical term for muscle. Muscle. That's supposed to be a flexed arm for muscle, right? Medical term for muscle is myo.
Underground. A lot of people can't do it because they get
Myo.
But it was absolutely amazing.
One thing I didn't mention to you is that the heart is a muscle. It's a muscle. Your esophagus is also a muscle. Kind of. It's a pipe that has muscles in it. All your blood vessels are also quite muscular. Your intestines, which you use to process food, are also muscles. They're all just different types of muscles.
Absolutely.
So, medical term for muscle is myo.
That was a little hard for me was
For example,
Western women there, it's a little bit, I don't know, you don't see a lot of local women out. You see only local men.
look at this. Myocardial infarction,
You don't see the local women. So I think
also known as a matter of fact, I'm going to put another word in here.
but overall,
Acute myocardial infarction, also known as an AMI. Has anyone ever heard of this AMI?
Yeah, it does.
I've seen it. I don't know what it is.
Well, let's, the word acute, you must remember from geometry,
Yeah, it's protected or whatever.
when you were studying angles. Infarction, you probably don't know, but I will tell you what it is. But let's look at the word myocardial. The word myo,
Covered, right?
I just gave you. It means
Yeah.
muscle,
Look, here are some of my,
right?
look, look.
Cardio
Here I am in
means
oh my God.
heart.
It was it was cold. We were there at,
Suffix al means belonging to. So the word myocardial means belonging to heart muscle, doesn't it?
Smoking a hookah.
Yes, no, maybe.
This was
Yes. Heart muscle. Do you see it? Myo, muscle. Cardio, heart. Suffix al, belonging to. The word infarction.
Oh my God.
The word infarction you must know. I have to tell you what this is.
We were out on the water.
Infarction covers an entire sentence. The word infarction means death of tissue due to lack of oxygen.
Look at the food, right?
The word infarction,
Oh my God.
it encapsulates, it embodies the brilliance of medical terminology. Look at this. One word, infarction, means death of tissue due to lack of oxygen. Infarction. I just said one word and it means death of tissue due to lack of oxygen. Death of what tissue? Heart muscle tissue. Now the question is, what is acute? You remember from geometry, you had a right angle, you had a obtuse angle, or an acute angle. Remember this? Didn't know you would be learning geometry again, no? So, right, obtuse, and acute. Acute has a sharp, pointy edge. This is acute angle, which means sharp. But in medicine, acute means sharp,
Yes. Oh, it was so beautiful. Cappadocia. This is
sudden,
under, like,
and
all these. This was me
severe.
looking up. I was
Sharp,
under the ground.
sudden,
This is
and
the
severe.
hole. No, this is
So
the hole.
acute myocardial infarction, acute myocardial infarction means a sudden or severe death of heart muscle tissue due to lack of oxygen. Folks, what I just told you about is something that you know as a heart attack. That's what a heart attack is. It's an acute myocardial infarction where heart muscle dies due to lack of oxygen.
It was so fantastic.
Are you with me so far?
Do you like some?
No, thank
The
you.
mayor lemons. You like?
Yeah.
I'm showing
Now,
him all
if
my-
somebody is complaining of chest pain, they're sweating, they're saying, oh my God, I think I'm having a heart attack. Based on this information alone, how would you be able to help this person other than calling an ambulance?
You know, another place that is
immediately?
Iceland.
How could you help this person immediately?
Let's go.
Fred, you and I should go together in the winter.
Because you know that a heart attack
It's called-
is
it's
death
called
of
the
heart
Boone
muscle tissue
Lagoon. You
due
go
to lack
the
of oxygen.
volcanic springs.
How could you help that person?
Let's go to the business trip.
Beautiful.
We'll call
Okay,
it BCI
you-
junket to
you-
Iceland. Reykjavik.
Just look on the board.
Fred,
What could you do? How could you
love
help them?
there because-
How could you help them survive?
I'll show you something. You want to see something or no? Okay.
Give them oxygen.
Of all my
Very good.
travels, I'll
But you don't have oxygen. What you have is fresh air. So make sure there's plenty of fresh air around them. Don't stand around these people. Don't hover around them, breathing up their oxygen. Loosen up their restrictive clothing. Open the window. Immediately call the ambulance so they can show up with oxygen.
with my daughter in Denmark, but
And let them breathe. Make sure they're calm and comfortable.
Okay, I've been nowhere.
Because the calmer they are, the less damage they're going to sustain to their heart.
And I'll take lemons.
Okay, if a person is not calm, the heart is beating fast, tidum, 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 and when it beats fast, it eats up a lot of oxygen. You want them to be comfortable and calm. That way, instead of tidum, 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 the heart is beating thumb, 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 slower, consuming less oxygen, saving itself from death. That, my dear friends, is that other eye-opening experience that I wanted to share with you today. And so, that's enough information for us today. All I want you to do is to watch these videos until the next class. Any questions to me about what we just talked about? Oh, by the way, let me throw one more word in there to you, because acute is a medical term that we use often. I want to show you the opposite word to the word acute. And I know you know this word, you just don't know where it comes from. Oh, by the way, geez, who asked me about hypnosis last time when we were talking about suffix osis? I never got back to you on this, did I? I didn't. The word hypno means sleep. Suffix osis is abnormal condition. So hypnosis is an abnormal sleep. Normal sleep is when you fall asleep and you sleep normally. Hypnosis is like when you're half asleep, half not asleep, and something is crazy is happening to you. So I just taught you the word acute, and here is the opposite word to the word acute, and that is chronic. Now I know you've heard the word chronic. What does it mean? Chronic.
It's like reoccurring.
Okay, I can deal with that. But you know what? Let me break the word down to you. It's made up of two words, Greek, chrono and suffix ik. Suffix ik is one of those suffixes I talk about all the time. Ik, ak, al, us, ar, belonging to. Now the question is, what is chrono?
Look here, can you see the earth?
Here it is.
Here behind me. See
Oh
this?
yeah, you see the line there. Yeah.
Oh, incredibly beautiful. Look.
What did I just draw? Time.
Unbelievable. See, this is actually this land. These
Time.
place together.
Acute is sharp, sudden, and severe. Chronic is something that's long and lingering and happens over a period of time. Okay? I promise. That's it. I'm done talking about medical terms right now. We have a few minutes to spare, and I'm fine with that.